Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sports Blitz here, and we're back with our NFL Week 5 game predictions. Know I'm a little bit late to the predictions this week. Been a lot of stuff that came up this week that just kind of prevented me from uploading these on time. I did make sure to post on Twitter before the Falcons and Bucks game yesterday that I was predicting the Falcons to win. Got that posted on Twitter. You can see in that screenshot there that the thing locks at 6:15 p.m. and I took that screenshot at 6:12 p.m. And posted that on my Twitter. Which, make sure to drop that a follow, guys. I do post a fair amount on there. Usually it's Panthers related, but I do post other stuff, about NFL stuff anyways. So make sure to drop that a follow. But yeah, just wanted to let the record show that I did actually predict the Falcons to win. So I was right about that one. So that was pretty cool. But let's go ahead and get on into our Week 5 game predictions. So first off, we have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Houston Texans. And I'm excited for this game, actually. I think it's going to be a really exciting game. I expect a close game, pretty high scoring. I think Josh Allen's going to bounce back from that Bills-Ravens game. It's going to be real competitive. I think the Texans are also going to be looking to... And I know that their loss against the Vikings was 2 weeks ago, not last week. But I think they've still got to have the mindset of, hey, we got wrecked 2 weeks ago, and we almost lost to the Jaguars last week, too. So, Texans got to be looking to bounce back from that, too. So I think it's going to be two hungry teams to get a win here. I do think, ultimately, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to win this. I don't know how confident I am in that prediction. I think the Texans honestly have a real shot to win this. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Texans pulled it off. But I think right now I'm going to go ahead and go with the Buffalo Bills. Week 2, we have... Or not week 2, second game. We have the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I don't know what to think of this game because I don't know if both Anthony Richardson and or Jonathan Taylor are going to play. They've both been dealing with injuries. I will say when Richardson went down in the Pittsburgh game and Joe Flacco came in, he looked like the Joe Flacco from last year, which was like really good. So if it is Joe Flacco, I could actually still feel good about Indianapolis's chances here. I don't know the status of Jonathan Taylor. Okay, I haven't really heard how serious that is, if he's expecting to play or not. I think I'm gonna make the prediction under the assumption he does not play. With the Jags being at home, I think I'm gonna finally take the Jags to win this, but I don't know how confident I am in that. This is one that my mind's probably gonna switch about 5 times before the game on Sunday. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. And yeah, Ravens are coming off a dominant win against the Bills. I feel like a lot of people were low and kind of doubting the Ravens for a while. They're like, no, they were 1-2, not a very good team. Their defense is overrated. Their offense really can't get stuff going. Well, both sides of the ball proved that wrong. that defense did look really good, and that offense did get stuff going. And that was the type of Ravens team I expected to see this year. Because with Derrick Henry, I mean, I don't remember how many carries he got, but he got a lot more carries than any other week this season. And ended up with literally a yard short of 200 rushing yards. I don't know why they didn't give him another carry to let him break that. Would have had the all-time record for 200-yard or more rushing yard games. But I guess that is what it is. But yeah, that's kind of the recipe for success for the Ravens. They need to run the ball more. I mean, there's a reason they brought in Derrick Henry, okay? If they're going to leave the game up to Lamar to throw the ball the entire game, it's not going to look like a very good offense. It's not. They need to run the ball. On the other side, Bengals finally got some stuff going against the Panthers. Really, their offense has been really good the last couple weeks. Their defense still just does not look great. That's definitely a suspect defense, to say the least. Not confident in that defense whatsoever. So I am going to take the Ravens, assuming they use the same recipe they did against the Bills. Just run the ball and really only pass when they really need to. So, yeah, we'll take the Ravens there. Then, this is not going to be a fun game. We got the Miami Dolphins taking on the New England Patriots. This game's going to be atrocious. Like, I don't even want to pick a team to win this. So the Dolphins, obviously, without Tua, their offense isn't really getting anything going. Like, it's looking bad. You could tell their defense against the Titans definitely started getting tired in that game. Which, I mean, makes sense. They're on the field for so long. But yeah, later on in the game, the Titans definitely were able to go ahead by quite a bit more because the Dolphins' defense was so tired. They've also lost Jalen Phillips, I think for the season, actually. I want to say it's a season-ending injury. So, unfortunate for that. Patriots, it sounds like they were considering putting Antonio Gibson as the starting running back this week because of Ramondre Stevenson's fumbling issues. So that could be a big thing for them. Not super high on Gibson. I think he's a solid receiving back, but I don't think he's, that tough downhill back that, you really want in a running back. I do think I'm going to go with the Patriots here. I think they'll be able to play good enough defense to slow down Miami's offense without Tua. And honestly, I feel better about Jacoby Brissett managing the game than I do Tyler Huntley managing the game for the Dolphins. So, take the Patriots right there. And then we've got the Raiders at the Broncos. Broncos have been kind of on a little bit of a hot streak lately, mainly defensively, but 2 weeks ago they did put a beating on the Bucs. That was a really, really impressive game. That defense is seriously legit. Like one of the best defenses in the NFL. I have to give my props to the Broncos there. Bo Nix is he's not looking great, but he's at least doing enough to win them games. And I think that's what he's going to do here too. He's not going to light up the stat sheet, but he's going to win the game against the Raiders. Also in that game, You guys know Devontae Adams requested a trade, so he could be on his way out soon. They claim that he's not playing this game because of that hamstring injury. I mean, sure, maybe there's a little bit of truth to that, but I think it's more trade related, if you ask me. But that's just my opinion on that. But it will be interesting to see who he goes to. Then you got the Jets taking on the Vikings. I mean, so Vikings fans know this about me. Coming into the season, I was not high on the Vikings at all. I thought they'd be a bottom five team. Wasn't confident in that defense. They definitely proved me wrong. They're the best defense in the league right now. Wasn't confident in Sam Darnold. He proved me wrong. He's like the MVP front runner right now. Like that team is looking amazing. So they've shot up from like 30 all the way to number 1 on my power rankings within a few weeks. And last week, when doing these predictions, actually, I mentioned in the video that every week I had predicted the Vikings to not win, and they won. So I didn't want to jinx it by predicting them to win and, having them lose. So last week I mentioned, like, okay, look, I do actually think they'll beat the Packers, but I'm going to select the Packers here so that, see if they win. Vikings did still win. So who knows? There could still be a little bit of superstition there, but I am going to go ahead and take the Vikings here. Hopefully I don't jinx it. If I do, I'm so sorry, Vikings fans, but I do feel confident that the Vikings are going to win this. Like I said, their defense is just too nasty. I think they're going to slow down Breece Hall quite a bit. I think they're going to stop Garrett Wilson. And honestly, I think they're going to pressure Aaron Rodgers enough that, he's going to be frustrated this game. He's going to not be having a very good day during this game. So I am taking the Vikings here. Again, Vikings fans, I'm so sorry if I jinx it. But then we have the Browns taking on the Commanders. Commanders are another team that I completely wrote off at the beginning of the season, and they've really impressed. That offense has been so good. Jaden Daniels, man, he's been so impressive. Like he's the clear offensive rookie of the year as of right now. They've even started putting him in MVP votes, and I think you got to slow down a little bit on the MVP stuff, but he is offensive rookie of the year for sure right now, and he's running that offense well, really well. So I'm gonna go with the Commanders. I think they're just straight up functioning better than the Browns right now. So then you have the Dallas Cowboys at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers did get their first loss of the season last week against the Colts. I wasn't really expecting that. I do think if it would have been Anthony Richardson the entire game, I do think the Steelers defense would have been able to get to him enough to, mess with him, and I think the Steelers ultimately would have won that game. But Joe Flacco came in and, he's just a vet. He knows a lot about the game. He has a high football IQ. He knows how to tear up defenses. So he did end up beating the Steelers last week. However, I do feel actually pretty confident that the Steelers are going to bounce back against the Cowboys. I know this is kind of an unpopular vote, but I don't think the Cowboys have looked great this year. they really kind of barely beat the Giants. I mean, against the Giants, the Giants were moving the ball really well. Like, they were going downfield, they were getting field goals. They just couldn't quite punch it in for touchdowns. Had, I mean, one or two of those, you know, been turned into a touchdown instead, Giants would have won that. I mean, that was not a convincing win by the Cowboys. And I think a lot of Cowboys fans can agree that was not a convincing win. I mean, you expect to come out against a team like that and just destroy them like they have the last couple years. That didn't happen. So I don't think this is the same Cowboys team. They're also going to be without Demarcus Lawrence. Sorry, wrong Demarcus. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I believe they're also going to be without Micah Parsons. I don't know that for sure, but I do believe they'll be without Micah Parsons too. And I don't know, honestly, I feel better about the Steelers winning this. I really do. But then you got on Monday Night Football, you have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead. I think this is going to be a fun one. Call me crazy for this, guys, but I actually expect a pretty defensive game. I know you look at these teams and be like, Chiefs are usually known for having a high power offense. And, the first couple games this season, the Saints had, a crazy explosive offense as well. Well, the Chiefs have a really, really good defense, and their offense has really kind of slowed down quite a bit this season. Their offense is not looking like it has the last few years. I am going to go with them, though. I mean, it's in Arrowhead, in prime time, Monday Night Football. I have a really hard time believing the Saints are going to beat them in a setting like that. All right, so then the next game over here, that was the Thursday night game. We already talked about Bucks Falcons. I did not expect that much passing from the Falcons. It was weird. They didn't seem to want to use Bijan Robinson that much. I think he only got like 12 carries, only like 3 receptions out of the backfield. Like, he just was not part of the plan for this game. And I get early on the Bucks were really, shutting him down pretty well. And the pass game was working. It was working really well. I mean, Kirk Cousins ended up with over 500 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. But it's like, I didn't expect the Falcons to come out and throw, I could be wrong on the number, but I want to say it was like 58 times. I mean, there were a lot of times during the game that they'd come out passing on first and second down, and it'd be either incomplete or only like a 1 or 2 yard gain, and they're putting themselves in like really tough third and longs. And in a lot of those situations, they still converted the third and longs, but I'm like, I thought the Falcons were supposed to be this like nasty juggernaut rushing team this year. Like, I thought Bijan was going to be going on an absolute tear this year. He hasn't really gotten going rushing wise. I mean, he's had a few solid receiving games. Hasn't really gotten going much, though. I didn't expect them to be throwing this much. So that definitely caught me off guard. Maybe the Bucks were also expecting what I expected, and maybe that's why, they got sliced up so bad in the past game. But, I mean, that was an exciting game. I think that's going to end up being a top 3 game of the year. Like, really, really fun game. Got it to overtime. And then finished off with that, like, 50-yard or something touchdown to Kadarrell Hodge. I mean, just absolutely electric game. It was fun to watch. But you definitely got to question why the Falcons aren't running the ball more, you know? I feel like as Falcons fans, you've got to be concerned why they're not running the ball more. Because against some teams, throwing that much is going to come back and bite you, you know, if you throw that much early on. So, but then I do have the Carolina Panthers taking on the Chicago Bears in Chicago. That Panthers offense looks a lot better with Andy Dalton. It really does. And honestly, I've been pretty correct about how the Panthers are going to do with Andy Dalton. I've mentioned, and I've got plenty of tweets to show it on my Twitter, so I've got proof that benching Bryce Young was the right move, sitting him behind Andy Dalton and stuff. And I mentioned, I think this offense is going to look better with Andy Dalton. I didn't think it was going to look quite this good, but the morning of the Raiders game 2 weeks ago, I remember thinking, like, man, I have a good feeling about this. I think Andy Dalton's going to get us a win today. He did. Again, I didn't expect him to tear up the Raiders' defense that crazy, but he did get a win. And then the next week against the Bengals, I don't know if I mentioned my score prediction in the week 4 predictions or not, but I had in my head, I'm like, you know, I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I think offense is still going to look good, but I'm worried about our defense, and I think we're going to lose. And I said 34-27. We lost 34-24. And there were a lot of other things that made it really close, too, like that Panthers opening drive where they got stopped on the 1-yard line. I mean, factors like that, I'm like, I feel like I've got a pretty good idea of how the Panthers should perform going forward. And honestly, this Bears game is one I have a good feeling about. So I am ultimately going to go with the Panthers here. I mean, they've got one of the best O-lines in football right now. Just really, really protecting Andy Dalton well. On Chicago's side, they've got a tough defense, specifically in the secondary. Jalen Johnson is lights out. For that reason, I do think Deontay Johnson is going to slow down a little bit this game. I don't think he's going to have another, like, 10-catch, 80 to 100-yard game or anything. But I do actually think Xavier Legette is going to have another big game. Because I'm not as high on Tyreek Stevenson. So I think that'll help. Chicago's run defense has also proven to be kind of suspect as well. And Chuba Hubbard has been running really, really hard this season, especially the last 2 weeks. So I expect the Panthers to make it real tough on the Bears. If the Bears do come out running the ball hard and play like they did against the Rams, I expect it's going to be really tough on the Panthers. I do. I'm not saying this is going to be like a breeze, walk in the park sort of game, but I think the Panthers ultimately come away with it. I think Caleb Williams is still going through growing pains, which, I mean, makes sense. I mean, this is only going to be his 5th game in the NFL as a rookie, so you got to expect some growing pains. So this isn't a knock on Caleb at all. I just think that offense has pretty big restrictions right now, while the Panthers' offense has been growing, getting better. with Andy Dalton under center. So yeah, I've got to go with the Panthers here. So then we have the Arizona Cardinals taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Niners are starting to get a little bit healthier now. They got George Kittle back. I want to say they got Deebo Samuel back last week as well. If not, he will be playing this game. I mean, yeah, they are getting healthy. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's not coming back anytime soon. But they got some more receiving weapons now, and it showed against the Patriots. Getting those guys back was massive when they played the Patriots this last week. And I think having those guys back is what ends up winning this game against the Cardinals. If they were still out, honestly, I might lean the Cardinals here. I expect a game kind of along the lines of like 27 to 20 or 23. In favor of the 49ers. I think Kyler Murray's still a really solid quarterback. He's been playing really well this year. I think that defense has been kind of suspect at times. So, yeah, overall, I just feel better about the 49ers winning the game. Then the next week, or why do I keep saying next week? Next game, we have the Giants taking on the Seattle Seahawks. I know Malik Neighbors ended up with a concussion during the Dallas Cowboys game. I don't know if he's expecting to play or not. I feel like I haven't really heard any news on if he's actually going to be out. You would think with a concussion only being like a week later, he should be out. But I don't think I've really heard anything about him being inactive. So, Giants fans, feel free to let me know, but I don't know if Malik Neighbors is playing this game or not. Again, with a concussion, you'd think probably not. But again, haven't heard anything. So, meanwhile, Seattle is coming off a tough loss, but really hard played fight against the Detroit Lions in Detroit in prime time. I mean, that team's just offensively, they're looking really good right now. Defensively, got to tighten up in a few areas. You'd like to see that defense be better. But offense is looking really good, especially with Kenneth Walker back. He looked electric that game. I'm going to go with the Seahawks to win this. Last game of the week, we have the Green Bay Packers taking on the LA Rams. Rams are still dealing with some major injuries, obviously with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And that was a big factor in their loss against the Bears as well. Meanwhile, the Packers offense looked a lot better with Jordan Love coming back last week. Jordan Love kind of had a Jameis Winston type stat line last week with, it was like 400 passing yards and I think 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I'm like, that stat line just screams Jameis Winston, you know? I do think he'll be a little bit cleaner with the passing this time, though. I do expect the offense to be clicking a lot better, though, so I am going to go with the Green Bay Packers. I think they're a lot better of a team than really a lot of people are giving them credit for. I feel like a lot of people have them really low right now, and I don't quite understand why. I think they're a good team. I know they lost to the Vikings, but they got real close to coming back. And I believe they were down 21-0 at one point. So, I mean, you gotta give this team their props, you know? So, yeah, these are my predictions for Week 5. Let me know what you think of these in the comment section below. Once again, make sure to give the Twitter a follow. It's the Sports Blitz 6. There's also a link to it in the description below, so make sure to drop that a follow, subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and I'll see you next time. Later.